And now, it's time for the Stain Game with your host, the one and only Justin Menezes.
All right, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever, however you're watching, listening, or tuning in. My name is Justin, and I'm the host of the Stain Game podcast. And today we're very blessed to have Dan Wheeler from the Fence Industry Podcast. The man, the banger himself is on here. Dan, how are you doing?
Man, I am good. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love coming on your show. I love watching and listening to your shows. And they always give me something positive to think about and something to try to implement when I listen. And so it's an honor to have you on. We were talking before we hopped on here about a recent episode that you had about customers. And I was listening to it with my wife on our way back from our trip. And it made me really think like how accurate you were with those comments that you were making in the show itself. And so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of talk about if those experiences have gotten any better, if they've gotten any worse, or what your thoughts are this year with customers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's gotten I don't know. It's just hard, Justin, to take I say the beating from a bad customer when it really has nothing to do with you. Typically, on my end, it's going to be like our wood material. We had some issues. Thought I sourced some great, phenomenal stuff. Turns out maybe not so much. I don't know. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe not. It's just beautiful material. I don't know. I don't know why this expectation, why it really feels like some of these customers are on this high horse and they really make you feel like you are working for them. And like, I don't want to say you're below them, but for Pete's sake, Justin, that's what it feels like sometimes, man.
Yeah. You and I were talking, and it's been an interesting year to put it lightly. I mean, when we have our business meeting, it seems to be the topic that continuously comes up from, and I don't have a bunch of people that work for me. I have Edwin, Michael. We call ourselves jokingly the United Nations Deck and Fence Staining Company now because born and raised in Canada. My oldest boy was born here in the U.S., obviously. Edwin's from Kenya. Michael's from Nigeria. And so we have the African connection versus the North American connection. But every business meeting we have, it's like, it's not like we're murmuring or talking bad about customers, but it just seems like that constant conversation comes up about why are customers like so finicky this year compared to 10 years ago when we were just starting out? Or, why are they like, why is the communication falling short? And we're not perfect, but like you and I were talking about, we send out courtesy notifications, hey, we're headed out to your house. Cause life happens.
Yep.
I could have a freaking recliner fall on or collapse on my hand and, sever my nerve in my finger and have to go to the hospital. And it would only be courtesy of me to like let somebody know, hey, yeah, I was headed to your house, but this came up. We're going to reschedule. And yes, we apologize ahead of time. So we'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. And it just seems like this year customers are just, I don't know. It's like Edwin said, it's like the reverse COVID. Instead of them having COVID, they're having this customer experience of, we don't need to communicate with you. If we decide we changed our minds and, make you drive all the way. So I'll start with this experience. So we went out to a job. We message our customers the week before. So on a Friday, if we're planning on coming that following week, on Friday, we'll send out a courtesy text. Hey, Mrs. Jane or Mr. Doe, we're coming out Monday between the hours of 8 and 9, if they're the first job that we're planning on doing. to wash your deck, fence, pergola, whatever the job might be. Please let us know if this doesn't work so that we could reschedule and so that we're both on the same page. No follow-up, no, hey, things aren't going to work, nothing. We get out there and nothing's, the deck is the way it's supposed to be. Our worksheet, sodium metasilicate, pre-wet, apply wood cleaner. So, guys start clearing off the deck because nothing's moved off the deck. We originally talked to them, you need to move your things, but they didn't do it. And then we washed the deck and they're home. They're watching. Mm. And after the deck is done, the customer comes out, Mrs. or Mr. Oh, we decided to go with somebody else. Well, that would have been nice to know Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, or by the way, you're home. Why didn't you come out and stop us? We just washed your deck. You're there watching us wash the deck. Mm-hmm. And if you decided to change your mind, that's all fine and dandy. But do the common courtesy of saying, hey, we went with somebody else or we changed our mind, financial reasons, or we found somebody else or whatever. We don't need you to wash the deck because we're going to go with somebody else. No, you wait to the very end after it's washed and cleaned and everything's put back on the deck, So it's like, oh, thanks, and then they get pissy when you sit there and go, well, here's your invoice. Well, what's this for? We just washed your deck. You didn't do the least bit of effort of saying, hey, we went with somebody else or we decided to go a different route. So you owe us for the deck wash. And yeah, it's a little more expensive than we probably would have wanted to charge them, but we kind of feel like we're put in that situation now. But just different ways of, like, in the past, somebody would have been like, oh, hey, no thanks. We went with somebody else on a Friday or on a Saturday or on a Sunday. Or, like if you showed up in my yard tomorrow morning to build a fence, I would have gone out there and been like, hey, sorry about things. Kid went to the hospital or broke a leg or bills came or we don't have the money. I wouldn't have you build the fence and then after you're done building the fence, sit there and go, oh, we went a different route. Thanks for the fence, but we went a different route. So just a weird kind of thing. You know what?
This is how I've described it to guys in the fence building world. Like back in the day before no dig, we used to dig holes and you have dirt. And you're in my same region, so you have a lot of dirt because they're really big holes. Mm-hmm. And it was always like a job to get rid of dirt.
Yeah.
And your yard, I go and do a vinyl fence. Every hole is a heaping wheelbarrow. So I can probably get rid of some dirt in your yard. Some I can't. Now, if I look in your neighbor's yard and I see he has some potholes or a big hole or a dog dug, I would, in the back 6 years ago, Justin, I would go fill those holes, chop it up, make it look nice. They can throw some seed. And that neighbor, I wouldn't have to ask, and that neighbor would be so happy. And when they came home, they tell my customer would call me. Now I feel like the police would be called for us to do
yeah.
Like it's so like I don't know how the tables have turned, but they have.
Yeah.
And a job right up the road from here, a customer just said she was just going to chew me out over the phone. You come up, look at this job. I was personally on the job from start to finish. I know there was no issues. We walk it, and she had not one complaint, Justin, not one. And then at the very end, she turned in and it's like, yeah, I'm not happy with your salesman. You didn't show me how to use the lock on the gate. When I couldn't get in her fence and any of the 3 gates because she knew how to use the lock clearly. And that's all she had. And over the phone, Justin, she was just, it's like a keyboard warrior, how they are. And that's the other thing is, like, I know you do a lot of texting and stuff. I like to call people because I do not like condescending texts back like, yeah, sure, or something. Like that just drives me nuts. Like I have to call you and be like, hey, you want me to do your fence or not? Here's your, here's your option. I'm a little more blunt with it, but yes, I get it, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know if someone drank I don't know. It's in the water or what.
Yeah, we had a we had a fence that neighbors did not get along with each other,
and those are great.
They don't get along with each other, and I'll just call them neighbor number 1 had S&W build them a fence, and they So they share a fence line, or they used to share a fence line. And so now they have S&W built a fence, and then company AF built a second fence. And there is maybe 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, to be generous, in between both fences, right? Because they put it on the inside of their property line, and it's not on the fence line, so they're not sharing either fence. And then property owner number 2 wanted his fence stained both sides. And I'm not the biggest guy, but I'm not a small guy. And trying to get in between that little 3-foot section and then spray it with like a wand, because you couldn't use a wand, you had to use a spray gun. It was like I had more stain on me than the fence probably did.
Yeah.
We had the cops. So we had, it was in Bellevue, and Bellevue has Bellevue Police, and then there's also Sarpy County Sheriff's Office. Bellevue Police was called by property owner number 1 because we were trespassing. Yeah. We were on 1.5 feet of their property because they both basically built their fence about 1.5 feet off the property line so that there was no dispute on what side of the property that fence was. And so in staining it, yeah, I was on their side of the property, but I wasn't doing anything more than just standing there trying to squeeze my big butt in between these 2 fences to stain the one side of the fence. Bellevue Police comes out, and the guy walks up, and I knew he was just doing his job.
Yep.
And he's like, "Hey, man, I see what you're doing, and I don't know why they called us, but I've got to do my job. And property owner number 1 says you're trespassing on their property. And my understanding is there's half of this empty space in between both fences is hers. Is there any way you can not straddle that line?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll do my very best." Right. Mm-hmm. And we knew that these people didn't get along. So we created this PVC shield that we had a tarp that went about 8 foot up. And we had that little shield that we were using behind us, because if we got any stain on that fence, they were going to sue us. Like, she came out, it was a shield with Karen. If you're a Karen, you're Karen Johnson. I'm sorry, but this lady was a full-fledged Karen, screaming, yelling. I wish I would have recorded her, but I probably would have gotten in trouble. But yeah, "You got any stain on my fence, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da." And I'm like, "Look, lady, we got a tarp. There's no stain going to get anywhere, da-da-da-da." And so we ended up not being able to use that tarp. We ended up hand staining it. Mm. Cop went to her, told her he's going to stay on that 1.5 foot area. They're hand staining everything, da-da-da-da-da. 35 minutes later, here comes the sheriff's deputy. Same issue. Oh. "You're trespassing, da-da-da-da." And this guy was more of a stringent kind of person. And he's like, "Look, explain to the homeowner what's going on, but we're not going to allow you to stain the rest of this fence because you're trespassing on her property."
Oh my God.
and I'm just like, "Are you serious? Like, come on, dude. Like, do I look like I'm really trespassing? I'm here to clean this frickin' fence. Give me another hour. We'll be out of her hair. And then the 2 of them can go back to their cat fighting and doing whatever." But yeah, she called the cops on us twice in that same day, and we eventually had to leave. And what we ended up doing was on property owner number 2's side, we put up a little A-frame ladder, and we had an extension pole with a roller, and we rolled the rest of that fence so that it was stained, and that way we were not in between that little piece. But it was just one of those things, like, why are you going to do that? And why are you going to, like, put it out on the person who's there just trying to do their job?
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see those people again, but why even go that drastic?
Yeah. That's typically when we have like that issue, in my world, we ask the customer, like, sometimes you can clearly tell, like, they want a fence for a reason. And when we gently ask in that sales, like, is this by chance, trying to block a neighbor issue? And if they say, oh yeah, you always have to take that into consideration. And when we sell that job, we go out and knock on that neighbor's door without even telling this customer and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to mess up your yard. We might be working in it. It's not going to be, we're not doing that. We're just here we'll be in and out. We're on your side, blah, blah, blah. We'll go through and almost every time they're like, yep, not a problem. Like, we just can't stand them. It's fine. I'm like, oh, awesome. Thank you very much. And usually you go back when you do the job and the customer is like, oh my God, they probably gave you a hard time. They're like, no, actually they just were like, okay. And we moved on. It's not rocket science, people. Like, I don't know. And so here's a question for you. When you were talking, you have a lot of like cleaning guys, pressure wash guys. Do you think TikTok has I feel like it's just everywhere. I'm an Instagram guy, but it's everywhere. YouTube Shorts, it always is in my feed of these guys like make $500 today with a pressure washer and a Honda Civic and go to your pool store or your Walmart or whatever. This is all you got to do is this. And they're like, man, look how good this is. And I'm like, I feel like that has just created like this huge emergence of these guys, like everywhere you freaking look, Justin. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's the guys that know what they're doing out there. And then there's guys that just, they have the Ryu by pressure washer hanging out of a Buick LeSabre. And you know what I'm talking about. Like it's those guys if they're doing it the right way, but you know how it is. Like, do you think like TikTok social media has just made this quick buck so low in a barrier of entry that it's making it hard for guys like yourself?
So, yes, I will say yes on that. So I was a guy with a Honda Civic and a pressure washer 11, 12 years ago. That's all I had. I had a pressure washer. I had a Honda Civic. I didn't have money for a truck. And I've talked about that, like I think in our first episode, talking about, where I started and where I've come from. And I don't begrudge anybody who does it. Everybody's trying to make not a quick buck, but everybody's trying to make a living, provide for their families. And it's better than working at McDonald's. I love what I do. You love what you do. And I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there who have a passion for starting their own business and doing things. I think, like you mentioned, is a lot of people will look on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or Reddit or how many other social media outlets out there, and they see, oh yeah, I made $1,000 today. And what I think what's hurting, at least personally in my market, is that the newcomer isn't researching, isn't finding out what they're offering is a going affordable rate, or are they just lowballing? Like we have every week. So return customers used to be our bread and butter. And I say used to be because this year we're probably batting maybe 50% return customers having us redo their decks because, Joe Schmo comes along with a washer, with a brush, a can of stain from wherever they might buy. And they're sometimes like $1,000 to $1,500 cheaper, and it's not because their work isn't good. It's not because their work is crappy and it's the $99 guy type of job. It's just they haven't educated themselves or taken the time to find out that in our market we can charge $5 a square foot and up, right? But the going rate is somewhere around that $5 mark to wash and stain your typical fence or your typical deck. But instead, they're just going out there and they're thinking to themselves, because I was that way too when I first started. I was working as a mail carrier, and speed has always been something that I love doing. That came out wrong. I like to do things fast, efficient, fast, quality, not just speed and sloppy, but I figured out how to deliver my route because I was a substitute mail carrier. Even though I worked 6 days a week, you were paid based on your route. And so if your route took you 8 hours, you were paid 8 hours. If you could do that same route in 4 hours, you were still paid 8 hours for 4 hours of work. And so with experience and time, I figured out how to do my route in 4 to 5 hours. And that allowed me to free up 3 to 4 hours every day to where I could go wash and stain a deck. And so it was nice to get paid by the post office. And then it was nice to make $500 on a deck. That was my mindset, but I wasn't thinking long-term or big picture, right? The here and now, man, I got an extra $500 and I still got my paycheck coming in and da-da-da-da, instead of like, well, crap, what am I going to do in December when there is no decks to do? Mm-hmm. In January, there's no decks to do. Yeah, I'm going to deliver mail, but I'm not going to have an extra 500 every week or $2,000 at the end of the month because there's no decks to do. And so then I started educating myself and learning that, hey, you could pick up your phone like you and I talked about, and you can talk to ChatGPT or Gronk or Gemini or whatever and ask what your local market is charging for deck fence, fence and deck staining, washing, all that stuff. But I don't see a lot of folks doing that. I see the quick, let me just go out and make $500 today and $500 tomorrow and whatever. And they're not thinking big picture. Yeah. And one customer told me today they're fly-by-night business owners.
Yep.
Like, I don't think a lot of these folks are in it for the long run. I think they see it as a stepping stone until maybe the market gets better. Maybe they're waiting for, I have a good friend of mine who just retired out of the Air Force, and he cannot do his job that he's already been hired for as a civilian doing the same job he was doing as an Air Force guy. He has to wait mandatory 6 months. And so he's doing odd and end jobs for the next 6 months with that intent of, let me just get to that 6 month point. So I think there's a lot of folks in that boat where they're just, let me just try to make as much money as I can, and then I'll do something whenever that dries up. And it hurts the other people too, right?
Yeah, it comes in waves. I think I don't know, some call it, the free money from COVID or whatever, which I don't know who was getting free money because I wasn't, but I feel like that easy route is over. Now you got those little, like you said, like I need $500 this week. What can I do? And I see it on Facebook in my itty bitty little city of 1,800 people. Like, I can do this, I can fence, I can this, I can that. And that I've seen that now this year. That's one thing I haven't seen, Justin, I can't even put a date on it, 15 years, where like now we got guys that landscape, mow, fence, gutters, paint, stain, drywall repair. Like they have like those little like template things. They just pick everything, man. Like they can do everything for you. They can stitch that hat you're wearing. They can clean the jewelry we're wearing, and then they can go out and rake leaf or whatever. It's just wild. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's probably people that put themselves in position, but they need some fast cash or some more fast cash on top of what they're already making on their job for whatever reason. It is what it is. I have a question for you, Justin. I know this is your show, but I got a question for you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What's in 2025, the latest, greatest thing that has came to the stain world? Is it a tool? Is it procedures, process? Is it, what is it?
For me personally, I've had a couple of things that I've implemented this year that has made our job easier, more effective, and better outcomes. One was we bought from Kenny Dugan a stain man machine, and I'm not a mechanical guy. All right. It's not a hard thing to build. If you're one of those guys or gals that you can put together a little 2 or 3 gallon, SureFlow pump and do it, all power to you. I paid the money to do it. Well worth it. We use it. We've tried it for a few things. We've tried it on fence applications because we ran into a situation. Your weather is a lot like ours in December, where the weather hit like -18, -20. And our Greco airless sprayer would not work. It was too cold. It said, screw you, put us back in the garage where it's warm. We are not going to spray in negative 20-degree weather. And it didn't matter what outlet we used. It just was not going to work. So Kenny's little battery operated. We have a DeWalt where I like DeWalt battery tools. So we have a DeWalt battery setup, put the DeWalt battery in there, and it sprayed the fence for us. So we were able to get that job done with that. We've transitioned from spraying fences because we don't do a lot of fences here in Nebraska. We might do maybe 20 a year, 30 on a high end. We primarily do 150 to 200 decks every year.
Wow.
So we transitioned from the stain man for the sprayer aspect of it, for stain into chemical application. And that has made our process at least 50% faster.
Wow.
So we, on a typical deck, we'll just say a flat deck, 10 by 12 deck, Durant, I forget his last name. He came down from Sioux Falls up in South Dakota to work with me for a day and see how we did things. And he was amazed at how fast we pre-wet the deck, applied the cleaner, washed it, rinsed it, applied the brightener, all with the stain man. And we were in and out of that deck in probably 40 minutes.
Wow.
Let's say 200 square foot deck, just to make it simple. And he was like, how do I get one of those? Well, here's a link to Kenny's sales page, whatever. It costs about this much. You know, it's not any secret, anybody who goes to his page. But that thing has helped us become quicker and more efficient with our time and with our chemical, because you're not sitting there with a pump up sprayer to do it. You're not doing an injector with your pressure washer. You just pull out your 50-foot we have a 50-foot hose on it, Flexzilla, put the feeder hose into the bucket, spray it, flip it out from the chemical cleaner to the brightener, spray it, and we're done. We're in and out really fast. Another thing that we've utilized is the fence armor brush. We are, what are we on? 85 jobs that we've used one brush on. We use it just for the floor. We don't use it on rails, posts, anything like that. So his brush is huge. It's thick. It's effective. It's efficient. Holds stain like no other brush I've ever used. Does not, spray stain all over the place. It's got a really nice brush. It's not expensive compared to other brushes, but it's not cheap, but very effective to, cover a board on one swipe, because it's 7 inches long and about 2 inches wide. And then I guess the biggest thing recently is Caleb with Expert Stain and Seal has created an eco stripper that is it's basically like DRP, deck restorative products. Everett Abrams used to sell, and then he did what he did, and it's no longer available. So Caleb saw the need and got together with his chemist, and he created what they now call an eco stripper. And we had the opportunity of testing it out, and we absolutely love it. It works like it's supposed to. It's not as thick. The DRP eco stripper was more like a yogurt type of product. This is more watery, like your typical strippers. And next week we have a fence that we're planning on trying to see if we can use it in a pump up sprayer to see if it'll work. And if not, with a pump up with the stain man to see if, it's one of those applications that would work with that. And if you could do that, that'll make people's jobs way easier and way better.
I got a couple questions here. How quick are you recommending guys to get some of these, like the stain man, Kenny's tool, the brush? Obviously, there's costs involved with that.
Yeah.
Now, are you telling guys, hey, rough it out, pump sprayer it until you're comfortable? Or are you like, hey, you need to do this day one as soon as you get paid so you can start being efficient day one? Or are you telling them to pack some money in the bank and spend it on advertising and marketing to get some jobs flowing? What's your train of thought there? It's like, what do they call it? Like the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart? What's your thoughts on that?
So I would say staining is such a low cost entry business that you can get into. We talk about the pressure washer and the Honda Civic. When I first started off, I always joked around with customers that we would get comfortable talking to, and they realized who I was, and I'm kind of a jokester and thick-skinned, and I would always joke around that I was like the clown that would pull up in the little car, and I would pull out. I pop out of a Honda Civic. Now, if I jump in a Honda Civic, my back would scream at me because they're so freaking low to the ground. But if you pictured a 94 Honda Civic, green, 4-door, I had a 3,600 PSI DeWalt pressure washer in the back seat. The passenger front seat was completely laid down so that I could put that pressure washer in there. And then I would have a little giant ladder in there because I would put down the rear seat so that I could shove it into the trunk. I would have a staining pole in there, some brushes, a bucket. What else would I have? Obviously your wand, a water hose. So whatever I could fit in that little Honda Civic, that's what I showed up to a job in, and that's when I worked at the post office, and it was quick money, right? I could go make $500 on this job and be there for 3 hours. And, I was working at the post office making like 21 an hour. And I could go wash and stain a deck in a day, let's say 8 hours worth of work, and make $500. Now I look at it and I'm like, man, how stupid was I? Because I should have been charging like $1,200, but I didn't know. Right. But if you're starting off, I mean, there's such a low entry point for equipment. You could go buy a used pressure washer in the winter for a quarter of the price on Facebook Marketplace, because Johnny in a truck who didn't plan on being around in 6 months, now is wintertime. He's got no food on the table. He's got no savings because he didn't save up when things were good. Now he's got to sell his pressure washer. And you can go buy it for $100 or $200, right? And now you got a nice pressure washer that's not even a year old. That's $1,000. So, basically for less than $2,000, you can have a staining business going. But I would suggest you start off small. But if you want to be more efficient, a pump-up sprayer works great if you're just doing one job here, one job there. But we've moved on to that because it's more effective and more efficient. Instead of washing 2 jobs, we could wash 4, and use the same amount of energy and effort. Just it's a little quicker because the equipment allows you to do more within a shorter period of time.
Yeah, it's I think in every trade or whatever you want to, in my world, same thing. Like you can start with this, but as soon as you can, you need to kind of bump up to this. But yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
It's like that Fence Armor brush. I don't get anything from Fence Armor for saying good things or bad things. I just share my honest opinion on it. We've used it on 85 decks that we've brushed the flat surfaces, the deck floors with. If, let's say the brush is $30, and I don't know, don't hold me to that number, but let's say it's $30. A typical brush at Home Depot runs about $20, right? And if that brush lasts you 2 to 3 jobs, and we're on 85 with one brush, that $30 investment that might seem hefty at first, even if it's $50, which I know it's not, but let's just throw $50 out there. We have made way more money using that brush because it's still in use. And, we use it and we just lay it in a bucket with the bristles facing down so that the oil gravity works in our favor, and the oil slowly drops and it leaves an oil in that bucket. So it's keeping it fresh. But if we had to buy $20 brushes every 5 jobs, for an example, 5 into 85 goes 10, 15, 30 brushes. So we'd be at $600 in brushes if we were using them every 5 times. Whereas we spent $50 and that brush is still going for us.
Isn't it crazy how some people are so hard to pull the trigger on certain things? That you know what I'm saying? Like, isn't that crazy? Like, I was thinking about this just the other day, and I can't remember what I was thinking about, but it was like, man, just pull the trigger, do it. This is the right way to go, whether it's a tool or whatever it may be, truck or trailer. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Website, your SEO.
Yeah, like that's what you need to do. And like the brush thing, sometimes those decisions are so small. And I know it's financial. Some guys are really stretching the penny, but still, like you gotta. There comes a point to where you just start pulling the trigger, and then that's you'll feel that snowball is what I'm trying to say. Like once you get kind of going, you feel that. I got another question for you, Justin. Are you going to the Fence Association up in Canada?
I'm thinking about it. I was just up in Canada in March. I think Al had like a Canadian stain and seal event, and he asked if I'd be interested to go, and I went, and it was a blast. Like I had a great time. I didn't realize, I thought it was going to be in Toronto. I didn't realize that he lived like 15 minutes from where I grew up in Hamilton. And going there for a few days, I was able to go to, where I grew up as a kid, walk around the beachfront, visit sites, went to Niagara Falls with Bam Bam. We had a blast being there. And then the food there. So I believe the Fence event is in Toronto. And if you've ever been to New York, Toronto is New York of Canada. You can eat, see, enjoy, do whatever you want to do that you would think you could do in New York, but you can do it in Toronto. Like when Bam Bam and I were there, that's all I did was go out and eat at different places. Like if I wanted to go to a Portuguese cuisine place and get like authentic Portuguese food, or go to an Italian place and, you get a buddy of mine thinks spaghetti works as Italian food, and I just laugh at him. But, I ordered a plate. It's a platter, but I ordered like a plate of seafood linguine, Alfredo. And I'm not kidding you, it looked like a smart car wheel, this plate that this lady brought out. And it had no imitation crab. It was like actual crab, Alaskan crab legs on the linguine. And it had lobster tail in there, and it had like jumbo shrimp. And I ate maybe a quarter of that plate, and I was like stuffed. I had to belt a little bit, and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to blow up with my belt on. Give me an extra notch. And I took some home and ate it like later on, and had it for like two meals afterwards. And it was like $30 to eat. So I'm looking at it. I saw, I think you and Craig or someone, maybe it was just you, that had posted about it. And I was like, oh man, that'd be kind of cool to go up there and see it. It'll be kind of weird weather-wise because January, it'll be cold. It'll be snowy. But
it's going to be crazy. Old Mississippi boy Tony Thornton's going to be up there, and
he'll be up there looking like an Eskimo.
We got to pick on Tony. I remember Ken Throckmorton, if he's still in the show. He was grilling out, and Tony was like, "Man, all you need is a can of corn." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Up here in the Midwest, canned corn is like, we don't do that. We do fresh corn.
It's like government cheese back in the 80s.
I would gag eating it, I think, Justin. Like, that's not even allowed in my cupboard, man. Get the hell out of here with that canned corn.
I'll disclose that when I lived in the Azores, I used to snorkel for a living there. And I went to a different island and stayed at my sister's house that she didn't live in. And I stayed there for about 2 weeks, and I survived on like canned corn for like 2 weeks. I'd buy canned octopus, a can of canned octopus, and then a can of corn, and that was my meal at night. So I can kind of get where Tony is coming from, but we just had our 4th of July grilling, and I would have been embarrassed to pull out a can of canned corn when you have, sweet corn growing all around you, and everybody's enjoying, a gigantic cob of the corn and eating it. So, but I can do a good canned corn, if the time calls for it. Sometimes I ate a can of corn the other day just for like a snack.
You know what? I can only tolerate it if my wife makes it Mexican style. You know, with like mayonnaise, some of the cheese,
Yeah.
Cappatillo in there, mix it up real nice and creamy.
Yeah.
Then I could probably handle it. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
At that point, it's not even canned corn, though.
Yeah. You still taste it like, ugh, like. But anyways, I just thought that was fun to pick on Tony. Man, that's I like it. I feel like I'm interviewing you, Justin. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. It's a mutual experience. So let's. You're in the fencing and you do some staining. Are you guys doing? I know you and I talked about the wood versus the vinyl. Do you still offer fence staining? Are you doing pre-staining, or are you just doing like come up to the job and stain it?
We do a little bit of both. We do some pre-staining. Manpower and room is really limits that. So it's kind of like job pending. If you're in a tight neighborhood, we're not like you where you can stain right next to a house and not get overspray on everything. Now, if we're kind of in the wide open, then we'll stain it on site. I got one right up the road, actually right by Complainer, literally across the street. It's another giant one, and he wants it black, so that'll be fun. I got another one that we'll do that's black also. Black is pretty popular for us, and for far stain, it's black or pecan. It's one of the two. But yeah, we'll kind of do, if it's a smaller job, I can dry that out, put it in our shop, but it just takes up so much room. We have a nice size shop, but man, I guess by the time we put concrete indoors, we got 3 minis plus a skid loader. Plus, we do a ton of fab, so our fab side really needs to stay free. Now we build vinyl gates in-house too, so we have to – it's just like a juggling act. I guess it's time of the year, how much manpower we got and stuff like that, but we offer both. I prefer to do it on site just because it's a little bit easier. But yeah, we still love our expert. We still use it all the time. I got skids of it out in the shop, so I got those 2 jobs coming up are going to be – I think – one of the black ones has some horizontal inlay of cedar tone. So it'll be real nice out black on cedar with a commercial building. And actually, I wanted to tell you, I made a note, that Lux that you stained for us, Sonny, the guy that came out, the young kid, he just got married in the pergola, I think this past week.
No. Wow, good for him.
Look at the pictures. That they decorated that, Justin, and they put Lux by the Garden in like a red lettering that's lit up.
Oh wow!
Ooh.
Jeez,
they went all out on the flowers and stuff and the furniture. They are top. Dude, it is. Nice. You really got to check it out.
Oh yeah, I will. I brought up that story while I was in the Azores because my brother he always tunes in and watches stuff that I'm doing and stuff, and he was like, how did you? And I was like, man, I'll never forget that experience. One was the guy coming out, and I'm just like sitting there looking at this job, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? When you said it was a big pergola, I just pictured, 18 by 20 or, 14 by 18. That's what we consider to be a big pergola here. And then when I pull up and I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, this is like a monstrous pergola. I'm just sitting there like thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm one of those people like when I get to the job site, before I do anything, I'm like in my mind sitting there going, okay, so throw plastic up there, put tarps, wet down the concrete, throw water down, da, 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 da. I'm just running it through my head and I'm doing that. And all of a sudden this guy comes out and he's like a classic Italian.
Oh yeah.
He's got like the trench coat and he comes out and his hands are in the trench coat. And I'm like, is this dude carrying? Is he going to pop out and, put 2 slugs in me? He's got the hair kind of greased back.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like not measuring him up, but I'm like, okay, he looks Italian. He's got greasy hair. He's in a trench coat. He's got, I don't believe he's wearing socks underneath those skinny jean looking pants that he's got. And he's got the Italian leather loafers on. And he comes up and he's like, can I help you? And, and I explain to him what I'm doing. And then he's just like, oh, good. I'll let the staff know that they can leave now because they were worried, you are here for one of them. And then later on that evening, I'm like, okay, up on the pergola, we're spraying away. I'm finishing. And then all of a sudden it's like this car just comes screeching. And I'm like, I hope that car's going to stop. I hope that car's going to stop. And he just, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to hit me. and then he's drunk out of his mind. He's cussing at whoever he's talking to in his imaginary world. And I was telling my brother, and he's just like, are people nuts? And I'm like, look, dude, it was like 3 a.m. The guy probably was on a bender doing something. And yeah, he shouldn't have been driving, but he was driving. He made it to where he was going, got into wherever he was going to sleep it off, and ended up sleeping. But yeah, I'll never forget that. And I see pictures occasionally, like I follow them on their page, and they'll send, I think he sent me something maybe a couple of months ago. It was kind of like a neat way, the way the sun was in the horizon. I think it was a sunset. The black with the red in behind it just kind of made everything glow with like a neat looking picture. Yeah. So yeah, I'll have to go on there and check that out.
It's funny. When I was staining that little enclosure thing they had for their chairs, I witnessed a high-speed chase came through there too. Yeah, so like at that corner, for whatever reason, like really popular. Like, and it's just, there's other stories too. I don't want to get involved. Act like it's like Little Chicago, but it's basically Little Chicago. But you had this comment in here.
Awesome. The place looks awesome.
It is, and man, the ribeye steaks there, Justin.
Oh man.
And then like they fly in their flour for their pasta and stuff.
Gosh. Yeah,
like, they're true Italians. Like they're hardcore.
I see pictures of their food, and I keep, like when we were driving through, I saw a sign for Sterling.
Yep.
And my wife was asleep. I'm like, I wonder if I can like make a pit stop without like her even knowing. She's just sleeping. I don't know how far how realistic it would be. Find out it'd be like 3 hours to jump off or something. But I see the meals and stuff that they fix there, and it's legit.
Like, it is very, very good. This first place finishing said, I'm assuming networking would be great at that event. I'm assuming they're talking Canada.
Yeah.
That's one thing I preach on my podcast is you don't go to the shows, either live events, for so much the show, because we go there for the product and stuff and new releases. But man, you go there to network and talk to people, and that's in my opinion, people do the drinking game when I say in my opinion all the time. But in my opinion, that's where you grow your business 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think of, I'm trying to remember his name. I feel so bad because he's a great guy. Why can I not remember his name now? He's the owner of First Place Finish. He presented at that event for Fence Armor.
Okay.
And I'm drawing a blank on his name, and I feel so bad. Darren. Oh my gosh. Darren, I apologize. I owe you, I don't know what you drink. I don't drink alcohol, but I will gladly buy you a drink next time we're together. Darren has like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to coatings and staining, and he started up his own business, and he's doing fantastic work there in Canada. But yeah, if you go there, it's not so much as the event for you as a stainer, but just putting a name behind putting a face behind a name can be huge. Chris Hearn with Done Right Fencing, he and I have interacted on Facebook a lot, but when we actually get together and talk and hear what he's dealing with and what we're dealing with and how we can coordinate things together, and he could like, okay, yeah, Justin, he does work on Facebook that we follow, but meeting him, he's a stand-up guy. He's, he doesn't show up with, he doesn't look like Mike Tyson when he was raping women back in the 90s. He looks like a legit dude. If you like face tattoos, nothing against that, but there's something to actually meeting somebody and talking to them and, networking that way. And especially if it's in your neighborhood there for you, Darren, being in Canada, it'd be a great way for people to see First Place Finishing and actually realize that you're First Place Finishing. So yeah, it would be great for networking. I don't know, Fence Tech. There's one coming up in Indiana, right? Mm-hmm. I've been asked to go to that by 4 different people, and none of them stain. They're all fencers, and like, you should go. And I'm like, wow, it's a fence show. Like, what, there's stuff that I'll enjoy, but they're like, dude, you'll learn so much. You'll meet people. You'll network. It's another networking opportunity. It's like meeting realtors, right? I'm not going to sell a house, but that realtor will put a name and a face to that company, and they'll know to recommend you for the staining for a fence or for decks or pergolas or whatever it might be.
I 100% agree. I think you should be there, Justin, because Monday night we're going to do like a meetup. I don't know if that's going to be sponsored or not. If it's sponsored, it'd be free food, which I'm pretty sure we're just going to do.
We'll just crash the chiropractor convention. Here's all the food at the chiropractor convention.
But there's Fence Tech Week, man, is like Monday night meetup, Tuesday night kickoff show. There's education Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, shows Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
It's just like a blur. And you don't got to go to all. That's what I tell people, like, come in Thursday's the full day, so come in Wednesday, leave Friday or something like that. I bring my whole team in, and since Indy's so close, 4.5 hours. I think it'll be like the biggest fence tech too, Justin. Like, it's just going to be awesome. I like it a lot. I have another question for you because I know we're creeping at an hour. This is more of a fun one because you're my conspiracy guy. What's your latest conspiracy, Justin? I gotta know. There's a lot going on right now.
Oh man,
DVD religiously. I've been watching Alex Jones or listening to Alex Jones. I don't know. What do you think? What's going on?
So TikTok has a pretty cool video of the missing minute on the Epstein tape that has come to the public knowledge, right? So there's the tape. People are saying the jail cells don't match up with what CBS was doing when his suicide actually happened. And I don't know who the person is, but someone was able to alter that tape and put Hillary in there in her 2-piece blue suit, walking. And the timeline is perfect. It's like 11:58, and she opens a door, and she's walking into his cell at 11:59. And that's where the minute disappears, is when she enters that door. So if you follow the Hillary conspiracy, anytime that you run into any kind of business association with the Clintons, you end up suiciding yourself. And so that might have been, she went in there to pay him, what do they call that one? She came to give him a communal visit. And then after that experience, with Kenkel Hillary over there, he just killed himself. So that's my new conspiracy. She tried to Monica Lewinsky him, and the experience was so bad that he killed himself.
Oh God! I heard today or yesterday. I think I heard it today. It was from yesterday. Andy Frisella. He usually, is pretty accurate. He has an opinion on everything. We'll just say that. Yeah. And here lately, every time this has been brought up, he gets real quiet and gets real. Have you noticed like how he's like, it's basically he's thinking in his head, how can I say this? And I think yesterday he said that Trump isn't involved with the Epstein list, but knows people or something like that. Long story short, he's going to be embarrassed, and he's trying to not be. And I don't know what that could be. I don't know if that's coming out. Who freaking knows? Do you have any thoughts on that? Where it's not him, he's associated with people. Yeah.
So I like Kash Patel. Before he became who he is today, and I like Dan Bongino. Yep. And I find it interesting that both of these individuals, before entering the administration, were that was like one of their talking points. We're going to reveal this. If I ever get in the opportunity, I'm going to. And now that they're in that opportunity and that they've seen what they have seen, and that can be, fill in the blank what you think they've seen and haven't seen. But whatever they have seen, I have noticed personally, for me, looking at Dan Bongino, and when you look at his facial expressions and the way he looks when he's talking about it, he looks like a different human being. Like I believe he has seen things that he just never imagined would be there. on top of what he already expected to be there. And I think it comes back to, I was listening to PBD podcast while I was standing this afternoon, and they had a former CIA guy on there who talked about that he believes also that they have seen things that they've just realized that this goes way beyond what they could have ever imagined it going. And I'm not saying it's a Trump thing. And I'm like you said, I don't know if Trump went on flights, if he went to the island, if he didn't go to the island, whatever it might be. And if that's what it is, let it out. Everybody should be held accountable. If I go and have sex with a minor girl, I don't expect any special treatment to be put my way or to be handed my way. And I think it should be the same way for if you're a billionaire or if you're a millionaire or if you're Joe Blow off the corner of the street. If you did something wrong, be held accountable. But I think there's just so much in there that the chaos would be far worse than the truth would be, what the truth would bring out.
And that's what I believe, right? Exactly what you said. I just think the chaos would be so overwhelming. Yeah. It would kind of be free fallish, like
it'd be kind of like an anarchist kind of movement where people just lose faith in the system.
And here's a quick thing: just north of me, there's a county, and this sheriff's department has gone through some bad things, a lot of cover-up stuff, and I'm talking horrible. When I say horrible, Justin, I mean horrible. And I feel like if I were to get pulled over up there, I would tell them to go stick it because I don't have no, what am I looking for?
Yeah.
Respect?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be the same way, man.
Yeah, I agree. Because it'd be like you said, it would be like, your local law enforcement. We both live in small towns. So I know 90% of the cops in our town.
Mm-hmm.
So our town used to be called Meth Mouth. Mm-hmm. And we had from public attorneys to judges to the police chiefs were all involved in the distribution and selling of meth at one time.
Holy cow.
There was a big sting that the FBI did, and they cleaned house, and the town itself has changed. But during that period of time, if one of the cops that everybody knew was dirty, dealing meth, selling meth, trafficking meth, doing whatever, if he pulls me over for going too fast or not completely stopping, how am I supposed to look at that police officer, whether he's a man or a woman, and sit there and go, what the hell do you want?
Yeah.
Don't you have meth to go sell? Or am I not impeding on your trafficking right now?
Yeah.
You'd lose faith in the system, and I think that's part of it. Is there's just so much that you would question the legitimacy of how things work and don't work, I guess.
Last question, Justin. What's your opinion? What is it? July 9th, 2025. Your opinion on Elon Musk today?
So I believe that the time is going to come that we will have a non-American president.
Ooh.
And I believe it will happen sooner than later than what most people believe.
Do you believe, like what PBD said, he's ready to throw every dime he has in to get, okay,
yeah.
Follow-up question, good or bad?
I think it'll be bad because Elon is I'm not the smartest tool in the toolbox, all right? But the guy is super, super smart. I just don't understand how a guy as rich, as powerful as he is, being who he is, right? Before Twitter, which is X now, but just being Elon, right? Why is he messing with politics? I just don't he's either going to self-destruct himself with the CEOs and the boards of all these businesses sitting there going, dude, you're off the rail. We don't want you around anymore. They were saying today he lost
50 million.
Yeah, billions of dollars value.
80 billion.
Yeah.
80 billion.
Yeah. What is going, either he's so far gone that he has to be in charge, or he's lost track of what has made him Elon.
Yeah. That's what I think. Now, here's some food for thought. We can end it on this, Justin. Let's say he gets it changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you remember, I watched the Flagrant podcast. Andrew Schultz, I don't know if you tune into that. It's funny, but it's very informative too. They ask real questions. PBD was on it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, if it wasn't for you had to be an American-born citizen, this guy would be the president. And that's the first time I really seen or heard of PBD 3 years ago, 4 years, I don't know, something like that when he was on. Would he not? Do you think he would run for president?
Patrick Bet-David? I don't think he would, because he's too smart to realize that okay, so I'll take off my hat. I'll just put it this way. We are not run by the government. The government is puppets. Elon Musk is a great example, right? The guy is worth billions and billions of dollars. And why is he so involved in the government right now? Because there's billions and billions of dollars to be made. My dad, before he passed away, we had a gal come knock on our door in Hamilton, Ontario. Darren, Al Martin, if he's watching or tunes into this, her name was Sheila Copps. She was a big realtor into commercial development, very wealthy, doing very well for herself. And I remember her coming and asking my dad if she could get his vote. And my dad asked her, "Why are you running in the first place? You're already very successful. You have a lot of money. Like, you're doing very well for yourself." And her whole thing was she wanted to help the community. She wanted to help all these people. And my dad pointed out to her, is like, well, what's stopping you from helping fill in the cause, right? Anti-abortion, pro-abortion, homeless, children, whatever your cause is, what's stopping you from doing it? And Elon's the same way. The guy has billions and billions of dollars. If he wanted to stop homelessness, I'm sure he could take $1 billion and create a facility. I'm thinking of like Facebook we have here in Nebraska right now, a massive facility where you could house 30,000 homeless people in Nebraska. And with $1 billion every year, those people would never need for anything. You would never see them homeless on the streets because, they wouldn't have to be on the streets. And that would be $1 billion of his multi-billions that he has, right? So to me, it's like, where is our government actually functioning for the people compared to functioning the big, beautiful bill, right? It was all about no taxes on overtime, on Social Security. And then we find out that the senators and representatives put a cap on how much you could actually get taxed. And you're going to have to file your taxes at the end of the year and prove to the IRS that you deserve $12,500 back of your overtime that you already paid taxes on. Mm-hmm. So you're still going to get taxed. You're then going to have to justify to the IRS that you deserve that money back and prove to them, and then wait for the government to give you back your money at no interest. Mm-hmm. Right. So
see, I didn't hear that part. I heard there was a limit. I did not know that part. Yeah. I haven't like dove deep into that. I just been busy. So I've seen the podcasts and the YouTubes of this is how it's going to affect you, the big beautiful bill, and yada yada yada. I want to finish with this one thing. And I keep saying this. Candace Owens today said how they're paying these influencers now, these new influencers that no one's even heard of. They're just kind of like throwing money at it and throwing out, with the producer and editor kind of to put up these shorts and these videos on YouTube like overnight. And how like they're like, oh, this has all been released. Epstein files, this has been released. And really it's nothing. And they aren't saying nothing, but they're trying to. And like Patrick Bet-David said, like they're really fumbling right now. They're really, really fumbling. Because I did for a second there, just like what he called, was like, just wait. Like everyone was giving him such a hard time on 80 days in, 90 days in. Like, just wait. It's building up. It'll all come in. And then he had like the best week ever, best second week ever. And then boom, now we're getting hit with this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's exhausting, Justin.
Well, to those people with the money that they want to give to him, I'm a nobody. I have a little podcast show called The Stain Game. You want to send me a couple of grand, I'll go on here and say, I saw the Jeffrey Epstein list. Donald Trump was on there, and I saw him fiddling around with a little girl.
Well, see what they're doing is they're paying him to say the opposite.
Oh, okay. Well, I could do the same. I didn't see Donald Trump sitting in the door while I was in the corner serving drinks.
I watched all 20.
I was that illegal Canadian that worked at Epstein Island.
Oh, man. This has been fun, sir. This has been fun.
That's like the ICE raids, right?
Yep.
So for a while there, all you saw was ICE raids and this and that. Here in Omaha, I'm going to disclose what we did. So we went to Dodge, 72nd and Dodge, and there was 30 some odd people, all white, none of them Hispanic. Signs, Gulf of Mexico, stop kidnapping my brother, my sister, da 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 da. And first time we drove by, I didn't really think anything of it. And then the guy sees me drive by the second time because we were returning from a stop that we went to, and he starts to flip me the finger. And then I'm like, well, screw you. You're going to flip me the finger. Now you've activated my anger. And so I roll down the window and I'm like, how many of you actually have any illegals that you've taken in? Because I know all of them live in the nice Dundee area just down the street from where they're protesting, because none of them are going to go far off. They're not going to go out of their way to go do what they think they're doing. Mm-hmm. None of those people, they're the same people that I had a lady that we were staining a job, and she refused to pay me because she thought I was an illegal, and she just thought it was I could what did she say? Just claim it as a donation. I'm like, what do you mean? A fence staining job. It was like $1,500. Just claim it as a donation on your taxes. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'll donate to whoever I want, when I want, and who I want. You're not going to tell me when I'm going to do, a charitable act, a charitable donation. And then she started, well, you're not even here legally. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not here legally? Well, you're Hispanic, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm Canadian. You're not Canadian. I'm like, yes, I am. I am Canadian. I was born and raised in Toronto, Ontario. Lived in Hamilton until 1987. And then from there, I moved to Barrie, Ontario until 94. So yes, I'm Canadian. I have a Canadian passport. I'm still a Canadian citizen. And so she went on, but it was so telling to me that here was this white, well-off to do woman who just believed because of the way you looked and your name, Menezes does not look like a Canadian last name, obviously, but that I was just automatically an illegal. So long story short, it's easy. Those people who were once protesting, they're no longer there anymore because that whole movement has gone away. You know, what's the next thing? The next thing now is Trump infused the fumbling, like you mentioned. They're doing a horrible job of dealing with this. I think if they just came out and were like, hey, this is bigger than any of us thought it was going to be, and we can't release this. And just be honest.
Yep.
All right, so my last question for you. Saturday main event coming up. WWE, Goldberg in his last title opportunity. You think they're going to give him the title and then have him retire as champion? Or do you think Gunther puts him to sleep?
I don't know. I don't do the whole wrestling thing, but I catch glimpses of it because people talk about it. But I'd be curious to tune in to see kind of how they play it out. What do you think?
I think he puts him to sleep, but it's Goldberg. You never know. You know, I didn't think John Cena was going to come back and make the run that he's making of being champion. I don't know how long. I don't keep all that track, but it was just kind of threw me for a loop that they would give him the belt, even though he's a movie star John Cena and not so much wrestling John Cena anymore.
And you gotta have Nathan Downs on because he is a big wrestling fan. Big time. Oh,
got my man, The Undertaker here.
Nice.
Yeah, he looks pissed with all the stuff that's going on, and he's just wondering why these old timers keep taking from the young guys.
Man, I seen a short clip where the Undertaker he called out Brock Lesnar. Remember, you see that when he was walking by, he's like, "You want to go? You want to go?" Dude, that takes balls. You know how big Brock Lesnar is. He's up in Minnesota. That dude, remember when he came into the UFC, like his first fight, and he ragdolled. He was ragdolling guys like until he got caught up in that technical. Those technical guys really got him. But dude, he was that takes some balls to go after it. He was ready to throw down in that. I don't know where it was, a public place. He's like, "You want to go right now?"
A UFC fight.
Yeah, he's like, "You want to go? You want to go right now?" And I was like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, the Undertaker has I can't remember. He has a podcast. I think it's called 6 Feet Under or something like that. And he talked. I caught an episode. A friend of mine sent it to me because he knew I was a big Undertaker fan and a Brock Lesnar fan. And he showed me an episode where at the time Taker and Brock were like at ends with each other. They didn't like one another. Now they're like best friends and they get along and everything. But he legitimately wanted to fight Brock Lesnar because he thought Brock Lesnar screwed the wrestlers by leaving to go to UFC. And Undertaker is one of those like old school guys who loves the industry, loves the acting that comes with it and all that stuff, but he believes in respecting the trade, if that makes any sense. And so he wanted to fight him.
Man, that's crazy.
It would have been kind of a cool, Dana White. That'd be a good fight.
Man, that would be wild. I'm gonna say Brock Lesnar is a massive man.
Oh, yeah.
So, but hey, you never know. I guess you never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we're at approaching an hour and 15. So yeah, you need to go. You have plenty to do, and I need to go get some dinner. Dan, thank you so much.
Sure.
When is the fence show in Indiana?
It is the first week in February.
Okay, so 2026.
2026. Yep.
Awesome.
And there'll be so much content. I'm gonna put out a podcast on like the do's and don'ts of fence tech. I've been going quite a few years now. It's crazy how fast it goes, but basically a Monday through Friday. This is what I've learned. This is where to be, who to talk to, the networking events, the whole 9 yards. Where you're invited, because it's a very welcoming thing. So that's why I think there's guys that you would know and the guys would recognize you. So I think it's, even if you show up just for Thursday or something like that, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I heard from a little bird that there's a podcast coming up that's kind of a unique, you're going to co-host with somebody.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to co-host with Craig Friday, 2 days here. We're going to interview, I'm sure it's out now, Dane Turbyville out of Memphis. He's way smarter than all of us. He's doing big things. So, but Dan's an awesome guy. He has a podcast, a Powerhouse Fence Show, which is like everything commercial, like big boy stuff, not us, like big dog stuff.
He's not doing everything stuff.
Yeah, he's not doing like 200 feet of 4-foot galvanized. He's doing like 10,000 feet of custom ornamental steel that's been powder coated, custom. You know what I'm saying? Like some crash barrier gates and stuff like that. I like it. I'm excited to get him on, put him in the hot seat. Me and Craig, we kind of fart around a lot. He's funny, he's just so dry.
Yeah, it'll be a good show.
I'm excited, sir. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. I love it, man.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. Tune in to the Fence Industry Podcast. It is always amazing to listen to. Great episodes. Thank you, Dan, for coming on tonight. Everybody, thank you for watching, listening, and until next time, sayonara.